So just to kind of give you introductions, then we'll do who myself and Izzy are, and if you're okay to just give, again, a short introduction to yourself as well, so we know who's on the call. Izzy, would you like to start? Who you are?
I can do. Yeah, I can do. I'm Elizabeth, or Izzy, so I'm the social media community and volunteer manager. I've been with Haemochromatosis UK since July 2020. I do have hemochromatosis. As we definitely say, you do not have to have hemochromatosis to work for the charity. But yeah, so having this type of get together with you guys and meeting people and talking about where we go in regards to fundraising, volunteering is really important to us. So yeah, as I said previously, thank you so much for turning up.
Thanks, Izzy. I'm Neil. I started working for the charity at the start of this year, 2022. I did some work previously as a consultant for the charity and volunteering, did some fundraising for the charity then as well, after I was diagnosed 4 or 5 years ago with hemochromatosis. And I've worked in mostly trust and grant applications, but I've also been a trainer in fundraising. I wonder, could we quickly just go around the rest? I know we've maybe had a short conversation, but maybe I've got Amy. Could you maybe come off mute if you're happy to do so, and just a quick introduction again?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm Amy. 28, so quite young, perhaps, to be diagnosed. But I was getting symptoms, primarily breathlessness, which was worrying. My doctor tested my ferritin, thought I actually had anemia, so that was a bit of a shock. And that was only in August. But I was saying to the guys earlier, I've had 5 venesections, and I'm now in maintenance level, so looking at doing my donations less regularly. And I'm here just to get some information and to see what I can do to help.
Great. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Bernadette, can you maybe?
Yes, I was recently diagnosed, and I think, as I explained earlier, I found it through my own volition, really. My GP poo-pooed it, and I went privately, and after many sort of tests, I did find that I had it. And also a friend of mine said I might, because when they found the ferritin was high. I think I've had about 10 venesections, and I'm still up and down like a yo-yo. I keep bordering on being anemic, so they take less blood and leave longer gaps. But I'm very confident, because everyone tells me that I will get there in the end. So I was just, I think, alarmed at how little is known about it over here.
Yeah, no, I think that's correct. Thank you very much. Hewell, can you maybe very quickly let us know about yourself?
Hi, I'm Howell Lloyd. I joined the charity just over a year ago, when I was in the process of being diagnosed. So I'm now in maintenance since last April. I haven't donated since then, because for some reason my ferritin's still under 50, which is good in a way, but yeah, a bit unexpected. But yeah, so yeah, I'm here tonight because I want to know more about raising awareness and fundraising in this difficult time economically.
Indeed. Thanks, Hewell. I think, Sarah, you've just come on the call. Are you able to come off mute and just give us a quick introduction if you're able?
I think we're on now. We're having, it wouldn't let me think. And then on my phone, it was like, you haven't got the app. So we're like, why is the computer not working? And it's always when it's last minute, isn't it?
Got you at the end.
Yeah.
Do you want to just introduce yourself to everyone else? Just have a quick, I don't know, introduction to who you are, because we know who you are, but some people don't.
Yeah, I'm Sarah. I've got hemochromatosis. I was diagnosed in 2018 with ferritin of over 3,000, so I was quite poorly. But I can't get to maintenance, but the hospital are happy I'm in maintenance as far as they're concerned, even though my ferritin's still quite high because you can't get any lower. So I was on the family forum, and my children and I helped to produce the young adult and the children's booklets.
Great. Thanks,
what a
Sarah.
sterling job they did, and you did, yeah.
Fantastic. So we'll take a wee run through and it's useful, I think, to set up about how we talk about Haemochromatosis UK and how we talk about the cause. When it comes to fundraising, it's really people are interested not in the money side of things. They want to know what is it you're trying to do, what are you trying to change, and what is the nature of the cause that we're working with. And we all have our own experience, which is particularly helpful when it comes to fundraising. If I'm a paid fundraiser, it means a lot less to people than you who, as a volunteer, might ask for support. So that's really important to the charity. The more people can get involved with direct lived experience, asking other people to support the cause. One of the things that I use quite often, my main role around kind of written applications to trusts and foundations, is these are kind of some of the statistics that I find particularly helpful in those letters, to know that compared to other members of the public, people with hemochromatosis have these kind of risk factors. And it'd be useful when it comes to, if you're looking for information and talking to other people about the nature of the condition, the website, our website, haemochromatosis.org.uk, is really useful to pick up some of this information. So 50% more likely to experience diabetes. So I'm one of those people. I know that others will have other issues and factors as well. So just to kind of set in context why we need money. We then also have on our website a number of articles and stories about people, which again is another thing that can help people understand. Unless people see the people who have experienced the condition and what it means, they're less likely to give to us. So it's about part of communicating for people who may not have heard of the condition. Because really we want to try and reach beyond our own people to get some support, help them understand this condition alongside other things they may know about. So things like liver cancer, which is particularly affected. So we have some stories on the website you can look at and get information on. And we will present in some of our information when it comes to making that ask. And when we see some of the donations coming through on the website, and people give us 5, 10, 50 pounds, there's often a really harrowing story with that around somebody whose friend or parent who has died prematurely because of undiagnosed hemochromatosis or diagnosed too late and symptoms. So we really often, I think, sometimes play down the condition and say, well, we get, some of us might, our experience might be we get tired and we have got joint pain, and actually this is a really serious condition. And when it comes to fundraising, it's about highlighting those really kind of those case studies that are really impactful for people. So we will often highlight what is the worst the condition can do to people, because that gets a response from people. So we have a lot of kind of news articles and other case studies that are presented on the website that's useful to be aware of. And increasingly, we'll be putting it in some of our fundraising information and our fundraising packs to support people who are interested in helping us raise some support for this cause. The scale of the problem, many of you will obviously know a lot of this, estimated 1.2 million people affected in the UK by the condition. These figures of 1 in 150, 1 in 113 from the UK Biobank data, which is high, it's really significant. Yet when we do our screening, as we did in Northern Ireland, it was even higher than that. And we're learning, we hope to learn then through the screening that we're doing elsewhere, what are the numbers in other places in England and Scotland and Wales as well. So it's a very significant, as we know, condition, but it's useful also to be able to say that to other people as well. So when it comes to then asking people about the charity and what is it the charity does, because we're such a small organization, really, while we're a national charity, we have very few staff. I think it's 5 staff or so now, with maybe 6, but not all full time. Some are only very part time. We'd be stretched very far to kind of do a national program of work. We're very ambitious. We do want to grow the charity. But it's useful to be able to see what is it that we do with the resource that we have. So the year that just passed, we measure within the actual year. And these are some of the statistics of what the charity achieved in 2021. And we do these reports every year. So it's useful to be able to have some statistics every now and again as we're talking to people about what is it that we can do. So something like the Radio 4 appeal reached 2.5 million people, which is a huge achievement for a small charity. But 240 patient appointments, so that's 240 people really helped at a time of most likely early diagnosis or crisis in their own life. So we can go from the grand kind of public awareness that the charity's trying to provide right down to helping individuals with a personal virtual consultation about their condition, or an online or email call or a telephone call. So there's training GPs, all the things that we would have wanted to happen in our own case, we're trying to do for others then as well. I think we're learning that a lot of people will give to the charity with a motivation of gratitude for what we've done. So that's something to bear in mind as we're testing out how people respond to the charity. In fundraising, I kind of know this mantra of grace, growth, guilt, gratitude as the reason why people donate to charity. We're probably in the gratitude side of things more than anything. There's a bit of guilt over, well, we need to help other people. What are we doing to help other people who are in the same situation? When it comes to that spark to make people give. But really, most people think the charity has helped my brother, my sister, my mother, my daughter, myself, and that is often the main motivation. But the big thing with fundraising is people tend not to give until they're asked. So we need to be in front of people where we can, in the right way, at the right time, with the right message, asking people. So that's why you may see us asking. You may see us asking more about things. So some useful information, I think, there that just gives a sense of what we're doing as a charity. Then what is it that, so people say, well, what is the money going towards? What's it actually going to do? What's it going to pay for? So I think some of the kind of highlights of that, for me, when we're asking the public, it's likely to be the support for our nurses giving advice to people, as in a very attractive area that people might want to support. I often use the term iron nurses. I want to kind of get them a recognition like Macmillan nurses. You know, they're people who are there to really support and help people. So we have pictures there of Diogo and Vic, who we've employed to give that advice and support to people. And it's really well received. It's really high quality information that they get and support. And that's, I think, something that's really attractive for people to understand as a charity that we do. We then train a huge number of nurses and GPs. Figures were up in the previous slide. Then our awareness about this condition and the fact that we can make such a huge difference with it is really important. And then the research that we do as well. So those are kind of the four headings that we talk about. So if anybody ever asks you, well, what does the charity do? It's useful to think of those support, education, awareness, research kind of themes that we're doing. And that's what the money's for. And very often in fundraising, you'd tell that story of what we do. The next bit of, well, could you support that, becomes much easier because they're actually on board with this is worthwhile and worth doing. One of the things we're really trying to do as well is to be more local as a charity and do things where we can say, well, we're doing something in Liverpool, those different places that we're doing screening that you can see. You probably are aware that we're doing screening in Liverpool right at this moment. We're screening, offering free genetic tests to thousands of people in Liverpool who want one for their household. We'll also be doing it in Cardiff, Edinburgh, Belfast, Worthing and Newry, mostly because that has been grant funded, but we also want to then tell that story so that we can get some support locally as well. And it may be that you would think, if I'm fundraising in my area, I'd like to know, what are we doing in your area? So that's something you might want to ask us. What can we do in the area, or what can we say, or how many members are in the area? If there's more information you'd like about, well, what can you help to ground this a bit more in our area? Because that's often a very useful thing. Izzy often says this about, it's very difficult because we're a national charity, to appeal locally. So that's really where volunteers can come in and be that local presence and that local person with the condition who's been able to do that.
I think that's really important, like, distinction to make, isn't it? Because we have started these sort of community action groups and ambassador groups, and trying to get, so we have people in certain areas that can sort of, you know, be a local spokesman or you know, and help us in areas, because we want to make it local. We want stuff to happen in local areas, and we want stuff to happen where you live, and you know, but there's only a you know, finite amount of us, but with your help we can all do that. So yeah, I think that's a really exciting prospect if we can all, like, yeah, pull together and make all these local events happen, as it were.
Can I even just ask you at this point, had you heard about the screening programs that we're doing in some of these areas? If any of you want to come off mute and make a comment.
Yeah, I'd seen the Liverpool one. I don't know if that was via an email communication I received, but I did see that one.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, I got the email and saw it on Twitter on the website.
And
Sorry, Bernadette, go on.
so I don't know if you heard me earlier. I just heard it, received an email from you, and that's how I knew that you were screening.
Very good. Do you think that I mean, part of this session is helpful for us to kind of get your view on things. So is there anything that I've said so far or anything about this that you kind of want to make comment on or have any questions about?
Does anybody know why there is so little knowledge about it within the sort of health practitioners over here? Bear in mind, there are so many people from sort of Celtic origins that live in the UK. I mean, you'd maybe expect Wales and Scotland, obviously Northern Ireland, to have better knowledge because they're more obviously Celtic. But I find it really astonishing.
Yeah. I think you'd be surprised how, I mean, I'm in Belfast, you'd be surprised how little known it is in Belfast as well. It's a very good question. I think it's not been on the agenda for the NHS because it impacts on so many different symptoms. Nobody takes.
I think Bernadette, have you read our report? Oh God, what's it called? We did a report on the cost of I have it in front of me somewhere.
Cost of illness.
Yeah, that's the one. The cost of illness report. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't actually. Is it on your website? I'll have a look.
Yeah, it might be worth. I might pop you an email tomorrow with that.
Thank you.
Because that's quite interesting, as you say, like the fact that, you know, who understands and who doesn't and everything else. And we also did another report into hospitals about what their vivisection process was, how many people they have on their books, and that's quite interesting as well, because actually it's as you say, very not very well done, shall we say.
No, now that I'm in the system, it's amazing. I mean, the you know, the vivisection department at the hospital I go to are wonderful, and they're really just amazingly supportive. But it was getting there. One of my GPs said I should take antidepressants because it would help with one of the symptoms I had. But I knew. I mean, I'm a woman in my early 60s, and I had surgical menopause. So they just said it's your menopause. I said, but I had surgical menopause 20 years ago. I don't believe that it can just. And they kept saying it can just come back. It can just come back. Which I just knew was rubbish.
I'm only laughing, Bernadette, because I got told.
Oh no, it's just
when I wasn't in any shape or form. It was my But
it is laughable, but it isn't. You know, it's yes. I was lucky that I just stuck to my guns, and I knew there was something wrong with me. But I think a lot of people might have just given in.
Yeah, totally, and I totally agree with that. Like 100% agree with that. I'll send you those links tomorrow.
Lovely,
because you'll
that'd
be
be great.
Really interested in that. And I totally understand everything you've just said. Like, I totally agree with it, to be honest.
Yeah, it is a real frustration, that point, that it should be better. It should be better known. I mean, on the other hand, as if you're presenting a cause to people, what we can say about hemochromatosis is it's quite easy to diagnose it. You know, it's not that difficult. It's not expensive to diagnose it. And the treatment is really beneficial to society. So you almost have a fantastic argument to people. So it's something we're doing. So that report that found that the NHS is spending £500 million a year on excess costs of treating hemochromatosis. Huge amount of money wasted, and never mind the cost to individuals with their condition and all the different problems that we experience. So you could almost add a fifth strand of the things we do around campaigning. We are kind of lobbying the different governments to try and make inroads to make this a priority. But then part of that is we need kind of resource and time and support to do that, which is where the support comes in. And I think it's really good that Neil has managed to get Stephen McGann and Heidi Thomas on board to give us more of a profile as a charity. And with them as patrons, it's a really useful kind of badge of credibility again for the charity. So I think that's one thing that we really will look for our volunteers, is to try and give us a little bit of a kind of a local presence where you have some time and some availability. And I suppose we're keen to say with volunteers, it's what you're able to do. Don't feel like you have to commit to a certain number of hours, absolutely, and we'll give you absolutely not. We want you to kind of, for one thing, I think it's helpful if you can enjoy doing some fundraising for the charity and doing some things you like, which will come up again. You don't overextend yourselves. We'd like you to be able to get some reward in helping others through your fundraising then, as well as enjoying some of the activities that we'd be doing.
Sarah has a question. Sarah.
Oh, great, Sarah.
Well, I was just saying that I took the excess cost to the NHS. I ordered a couple of copies and I took them to my gastroenterologist and to the consultant, and they were like, wow, this is amazing. Why haven't you got access to this? And one of them said, and my GP, I took one, and he went, well, I'm a generalist, not, I'm not a specialist. And so when I raised the question about why, it was sort of misdiagnosed for such a long time, it was just, well, I'm a generalist, I'm not a specialist.
Which is generally wrong, yeah.
He said, if you're looking for horses and look for horses, he said, you're not going to find a zebra. So if you don't do that, the iron studies and get all of them in, you don't see it. If you just do like the normal, oh, are you anemic? No, you're not, your iron's okay. He said, so we were looking for horses, we weren't looking for zebra, and that was his explanation. So I disseminated information. I just took those books, I took them to my, and when we're supposed to be going to the House of Parliament, February this year, and it was cancelled. Yeah. I said to my consultant, I'm going to see Sajid Javid. What do you want me to ask him? He was like, he put some things, wrote some things on his little booklet and said, ask him this. And I think for a lot of specialists, like my gastroenterologist, they have so little information, and I don't think they have much time to sort of go, well, I've got lots of other patients, in hepatology or whatever. They've got so little time to sort of increase their knowledge about it unless it's put before them on a platter. Like the courses, here you go, here's our latest thing, this is what we'd like you to know, this is what our researchers found out. If they don't look at themselves, they're not going to come across it, are they? Unless they've got in their mind, well, I need to find out a little bit more. Yeah.
But I think it's Bernadette's point, they should really look for it in this part of the world. It really should be something they're really aware of. But so that's part of the mission, is to get that so our training for GPs or training for nurses, and the amount of events that Izzy attends, where nurses and doctors are, so we bring the message to them in those conferences and those venues, it is really important. I think it emphasizes that Izzy can't be in every town and city fundraising then either. We can't be doing these. So it's great when we can get people who have some interest in helping us with this side of things as well. Useful, I think, to understand the scale of the charity and what the money will do with it. So it's fair to say that we're reviewing some of our materials in fundraising. So some of the guides that you'll see, some of the forums we're going to review, update, and we're going to present some ideas with you tonight to see what you make of them as well. So essentially the charity in 2021 raised £366,000, which was quite an increase when we look at 2017, when the income was 139,000. But we think that we need to be bigger, really, in order to tackle this condition, spread awareness. We need to be a larger charity. So that's what we need every year. We get about 17 or 18% every year in membership fee. Used to be a lot more as a proportion, but as we have grown, the proportion has got smaller, and so we're raising money in other ways, so trusts and foundations, from selling some consultancy services, from selling some genetic testing kits. Most of them are subsidized, but we still get some income from that. But then fundraising is an increasing area that we need to generate income from. And the more people we can get contributing smaller, medium, and larger amounts, the more benefit the charity will receive from it. And some of the things we say at the moment is that £10 provides support and advice to somebody through the advice lines. And you can see some of the other examples down through that. So it might be interesting. So sometimes we have wish list things. So one of the things we'd like is to have a van, so that we're not loading stuff in and out of cars all the time, and that we can have a mobile unit to spread awareness and people would see that. So that's not a top priority for us, but if we were able to raise some money for it, that's one of the things we'd go for. So sorry, go ahead.
Can I ask about the figures for, the Friends of Iron Overload? So I donate monthly, to the Friends of Iron Overload. But do we know the figures about how much that contributes to the charity? And are there more members that perhaps are not aware of the Friends of Iron Overload, and they can make a month's contribution as opposed to just their membership fee?
Yeah, there's about 185 Friends of Iron Overload, typically giving around £7 a month. We're revamping that scheme, so it's already drafted. We're about to launch it very soon, because probably like yourself, Sarah, people have signed up for that, and we haven't done a lot more with it then. So we haven't been asking people regularly about that. So that's one of the things we want to do, is to revamp that and go back out. I see that as a real opportunity for the charity to grow our income, because I think people might be warm to that approach, and it's a really useful money because it's every month we get an amount and we don't have to ask each person every month for it. It kind of comes regularly. So it is, I looked at it when I first looked at the income to the charity, and I thought that's an area we can do more with. So it's brilliant when people have done that. We are putting together a new kind of Friends of package for people to encourage them to give a monthly donation like that. Yeah, absolutely.
And Neil, how much does it cost to run? Sorry. How much does it cost to actually run the charity?
It costs just less than in that year 2021 we spent a bit less than that, but that was affected by COVID, so there's a bit less expenditure in that year. We think around £400,000 for next year. We haven't agreed the budget yet. I would like to think of us in the next 2 or 3 years as a £500,000 charity, at least. So.
And what are the costs within that? How much actually is disposable income to do good for the charity? How much actually has to go on people's salaries and equipment?
If you look at any charity our size, there's a great proportion of it is salary. My salary.
I was going to say it would have to be, yeah.
Chief executive, the 2 nurses, the office administrator. So there is a fair, but that is charitable expenditure. Not so much me, because I'm here to get money in. People like Izzy attending the conferences, our nurses, and Neil's. I understand the question. It's a lot of it at the moment is salary, but it's charitable expenditure.
I don't know what percentage of the off the top of my head, but I think mostly I think I was looking at other charitable accounts the other day, and I think 18% or under, or is actually quite a good payback. And I kind of understand where people have issues with charities paying staff and what's the percentage and what goes out and everything else. But if you do go on to
no, I have no issue at all with people being paid.
No, I'm just saying if you do
how much
go
money
on,
there is disposable.
How it's all split out.
No, I was just trying to get an idea of how much money there is actually available to do stuff with. That was all. Not. I think everyone should be paid handsomely for what they do. I think it's very important.
Very fair question. It's very fair. For an example, in our screening that we're doing in all those different areas, we'll probably spend £100,000 on that.
Yeah.
From when we've started to when we've finished. some of that has come from reserves that have built up in the charity. We don't want to hold on to reserves. We want to do good with it. So since Neil has come on as chief executive, we're attending to some of those things. So we want to get this money out to do good with it. And it's why we've employed expert nursing advice as well, is we want to have much more money spent on those things that are beneficial for people. So I suppose on one hand, nothing is freely available because we're kind of budgeting it out. And any trust and foundation money that comes in is specifically for certain things within the charity, so we can't move it about. What's beneficial about fundraising income is we can kind of put it where it's needed. So if we get 75% screening costs for Liverpool, we can use fundraising income to finish it off, the 25% that's left of that cost. But it's one of these things. As a small charity, there's a big proportion of salary. As the charity gets bigger, that proportion should get a lot smaller. But I suppose if you wanted to look at the annual report, it'd give you a lot more detail on the different things that we do, the publications and all the other stuff that we provide as well. And Neil is very quick to say we'll subsidize kits for people. You know, if you're a member and you're paying for a genetic test kit, it's far less than it costs the charity. So it's kind of money's going in that area too.
Sure.
But those are all really good questions. So that's kind of the kind of scale and size of the charity and what some of the items of money we raise can be used for. So this is a title, these couple of screens, boring but important. We're a member of the fundraising regulator, which is the body that if anybody's got any complaint about fundraising, they can ask the fundraising regulator to investigate. You know, so if you're stopped in the street by somebody asking you for direct debit and you're annoyed by it, you can complain to the regulator, and they'd produce a code of practice for all different forms of fundraising, and we have signed up to that. And the purpose of that is it gives assurance to people who give us money that we're not just being fast and loose with what's provided. It gives assurance to anybody fundraising for the charity that they're doing it against certain codes as well. And then it protects the reputation of the charity. But it does mean we have to be quite clear in how we fundraise. So we have, at the moment, a decision as a charity that our fundraisers are always, generally speaking, most of the time, raising money in aid of the charity rather than on behalf of the charity. So I, as an employee, raise money on behalf of the charity, and I'm under the scope of what the charity would ask me to do. As a volunteer fundraiser, you're raising money in aid of the charity. So what you do as a fundraiser, you're raising money in the community and then you're donating it to the charity. So it does put a distinction between the two that you can't say. So go to the next slide. It means that a lot of the responsibility for the fundraising lies with you. So if you break the law going around houses selling lottery tickets, it's essentially on you in that situation. So it's important that whenever you're thinking about any fundraising that you're doing, is it something that would cause any issue for you, or would it cause any issue for us? And if you're any uncertainty about that, it's something you should speak to us about. And I have a slide coming up of showing the things that are perfectly okay to do and no issue with the things that are a bit more concerning for a charity. So it just gives you a clarity of where things are. It can seem off-putting when we talk about this regulatory business, but if you think of the fundraising that's done across the UK, it's commonplace, people fundraising all the time. So it shouldn't really prevent any activity that we would do. It's just there as a safeguard. So it's better if you're thinking of fundraising, to do the things that are generally simple, risk averse, not legally technical fundraising. That's where we would do that. So if we want to do a lottery that sells tickets to everybody in a certain area, we would organize that. And we've taken a decision pretty much as a charity not to do much of that because we haven't the resources. We can't pay people to do that. It's expensive to do, and it's technically difficult. So we're limiting that scope of fundraising at this time with the charity. So some of the options for for fundraisers like yourselves would be, first of all, do the things that you find fun and rewarding. One of the things we're going to try and do in the guide is not be too specific about the sponsored thing you will do. We've got 3 or 4 suggestions, but actually, what is it that you like to do? What's fun? Where are your networks? You know, your friends and your colleagues. What do they like to do? That's the thing that'll bring the fundraising in, the sponsorship. So
just interject and just ask all these people like here, what do they like to do, and what do they think would be a good fundraising thing they could do? Just off the cuff, like Amy, I don't know if you have any ideas, but I've put everyone on the spot now. But just as
I'm not sure. That's why I'm here to find out what I can do.
No, but like, what would you enjoy doing, and what do you think you could do? Because this gives us ideas that we can then put in our like booklet and things.
I enjoy being in the outdoors.
So what, like a sponsored walk or like
something like that? Yeah.
Like that. Okay.
Or yeah. I like being with the dog.
or like look after a dog day or something. Bernadette, how about you?
Yeah, I'm probably about the same really. I'd happily do the dog thing. I'd give mine away. No. She's adorable.
Take my dog.
She's adorable. She's a little bit spoilt and a bit clingy at the moment. Yeah, something like a sponsored walk, or I've got a spin bike at home. I could do something on that. The thing is with me, I'm not on social media apart from LinkedIn. It's a conscious choice. So I'd have to think about how getting awareness would be possible. But I know a lot of people who are. I'm just very anti-social media. It's really good for things like this, but there's so many, downsides to it.
I totally agree with you. But I'm just interested to see what other people
be very interested to find out what goes on. I'd be very interested to find out what goes on in my area, so that maybe I could help with or get involved with. I've already recently found out that I live in Hampshire, that there was availability to send a pack to the GP. So I know that's gone out to my GP now. So, but yeah, but just great to know what else was going on. I think then if there was people around, we could maybe get together and come up with some ideas and come back to you guys and run them by you.
Yeah, do a little like Iron Brew by yourselves and stuff.
Yeah, maybe we call it wine.
Wine brew.
Wine brew.
Haemochromatosis. Let's drink loads of red wine and push our iron levels up.
You can call it what you want, Bernadette.
Why not? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What would you like? Just out of curiosity, what would you think?
I used to run a lot. I like the idea of doing a half marathon, Cardiff half marathon or something, whether I could do it now because. Well, I've had quite a lot of injuries, possibly because of haemochromatosis.
Yeah.
Not sure. So I feel better since being in maintenance, but committing to do that, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Otherwise, not sure really.
But no, I'm just interested to know if anyone has any like little personal like knitting or baking cakes or I don't know. You never know, do you? Everyone's different.
Well, the Macmillan, they have like a Macmillan coffee one, don't they, every year on the same day? And I think that's something we could do. So, it's like in your local area, because of my physical limitations, sponsored walks and things with my hip doesn't go.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I'll do the kids. The kids can do it. They're fit and healthy. What can the teenagers do?
Sarah, I think that's a really important point that you've made, because actually we have discussed, so when we have like half marathons and we have all these things, and it's kind of understandable with people with our condition that actually we're not all capable of doing that. I mean, if I run a half marathon, I'll probably die, to be perfectly honest. But it is kind of like so how can we be inclusive in the way we ask people to fundraise? So that's why I'm asking this specific question. It doesn't have to be a challenge event. It doesn't have to be. What could it be that makes it inclusive that a lot of people could do?
I think it's something we don't need to have this list now. We can kind of say, well, think about it. Think about something you would like to do that maybe you haven't. Yeah, you've always said you'd like to do, but have never done. Is it John O'Groats to Land's End? A drive. I wouldn't be running. My knee needs replaced. I think this is common in haemochromatosis, where we all have some joint issue. So I think we need to allow people to say, you know what, it's the TV marathon. I'll watch, and I've suggested call a midwife TV marathon, watch the whole thing right through. We need to allow people, I think, just to choose something that actually they'd be happy to do, then comfortable to do, and then in some way to get it sponsored. And that's where we have the facility on the website that people can do some of that.
What sort of things do you find work at the moment in your experience?
Well, I think what we find is that doing some kind of local community events is difficult unless you have a large number of people you know will come. So doing small things, we have a small network of friends, and maybe you have a dinner party, you know, and people make a contribution there. But it's unless you get a breakthrough. So some of the kind of motor neuron disease breakthrough celebrity marathon runs, that isn't us at the moment.
No.
You know, but it's not to say that'll never happen with us. But what I think Sarah has suggested, I think we might work for us, is having a great iron brew during Haemochromatosis Awareness Week, the same day every year, and we try and grow that gradually over time, where people can do a small local thing themselves with their friends and family, and maybe some others coming. And if we get enough people doing that, because bearing in mind that more and more people are being diagnosed all the time, so we're not looking to, well, I actually think it'd be great to be Macmillan someday.
Yeah.
We're not trying to do the scale of that just yet. But what we have to be able to do is to say, here's a guide for a great iron brew or a little iron brew where you have tea and coffee, and maybe you sneak wine in every now and again to some of these things. And it's just give us what you can. And part of it is awareness. These things tend to make, if you spend £1 doing, you tend to make another £1 if you're lucky. You know, it's not a massive return with community fundraising like this. Some of the sponsored activity can do a lot better. You know, if somebody has a particular initiative they want to do, but we'll find if we get enough people doing these little things, and that's where the contributions all add up. You know, so if it's £300 or 500, but we've 10 people doing it, you know, or we've 50, or we've becomes much more viable as a fundraiser. And I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel a lot of the time. We don't need to, you know, think of something entirely new. So tea and coffee mornings are great little fundraisers. So let's do those sorts of things. So I suppose what I'm suggesting with this slide is there's things on the left side. Please do make it fun as rewarding for you as possible. So it's not a strain. So you don't want to do anything ever again. You know, it needs to be nice and simple and fun. Do take part in someone else's event. So if it is Cardiff Marathon or some other local event, do feel free just to join, because we are unlikely to organize a big mass participation event. We just haven't the resources to do it. It's very expensive to do a big event, and it's risky if it doesn't work. Buy a place on a challenge event. So we'll sometimes advertise some of those where you can do a challenge event. We have the London Landmark Half Marathon, which is a fantastic event for people to take part in. So maybe we get teams together to do that. So organising some of the small fundraisers, and I'll touch on those couple of ideas we have, trying to encourage other people to join in with you. So if you are in an area and you're interested and you've let us know, we can maybe see, can we get a handful of other people around you? And then that becomes an easier thing. You're not on your own just to organise something, but sometimes you might have to do it on your own just to get others started. So it's just something to think about. And what we're suggesting you don't do without kind of coming to us first is anything that requires a huge amount of organisation for you. Doing lotteries or raffles door to door because they're legally difficult. Doing cash collections are legally difficult in large scale events. And using the charity's materials without letting us know first as well would be something. And you can, I think, if you're doing a local event and you ask some of the shops, and can they donate an item for a raffle, that's fine. But if you go to some of the bigger companies asking for things, then that becomes more problematic for us. So the idea is small, simple, easy organised, less hassle for you, but mainly enjoyable, because then you can kind of think that you're actually helping and not being burdened by what the charity is asking you to do either. So we'd like people to donate via our website, because that keeps it nice and secure. With more and more people having less cash, it's a big problem for community fundraising, because number of the times, if you were doing a cash collection, people wouldn't have any. So allowing people to donate through the website. We have sponsorship pages on the website, encouraging people to consider their gift aid sign up, because that's another 25% on their donation. If you wanted some materials from us to help at your event, ask us what we could provide, whether it's wristbands or some of the collection boxes that we have, kind of fold up collection boxes. There's a lot more stuff, isn't there, Izzy, we can provide?
Yes, yeah, we have loads of things we can send out.
Yeah, so do feel free to ask us or post your materials, and we'll respond to that, because we're very keen to help you, make it easier for you to do some of this stuff.
I volunteered. Can I say I volunteered with the Royal British Legion? The poppy appeal. Since my kids have been like, I think Eleanor was about 3 the first time she stood there, with a poppy in her hand, and it started off with the one tiny little thing around my neck, like I was on a cinema. And now, like the last couple of weeks, we did about 3 or 4 sessions at the local Tesco. It's a huge table. They've got more materials now. There's pin badges, there's wristbands, there's things for school, and this is the first year they've had a machine for donations. So if people don't have any cash, it's just they tap the card, and there was a minimum. There was sort of a £2 was the minimum thing on the screen, but they could make a small donation if they wanted.
Yeah.
But RBL have been quite clever in the sort of 2, 5, 10, 15, 20. Could donate 50p if they wanted, but it's the first year, and we raised over £12,500 just by people volunteering over a 2-week period. Our friends in Ashton, they were in Sainsbury's, not Tesco, and they did £14,500. And that's shoppers coming in and out, just passing you by, by the tills.
I think I know it's fantastic, and I think the range that the Red Cross provide of it was British Legion, was it?
Oh, British Legion.
The range of product that they're attractive, and people want to buy them because they're nice looking as well. It's not even just for the cause. We are working on a few little things like that, but we can't obviously spend a lot of money hoping that it might then produce more money. So some of the things we'll do quite small scale initially. I would see how they go and how they grow. There may be occasion when we might look at providing cash machines, but we're not there yet with that, because there's a cost factor to it. Not huge cost factor, it has to be said, but if anybody really wants to push us in that, I think come back to us and we'll see what we can do with it. But
when you're doing the testing in certain areas, could we not have a table with certain things for the charity? There's the water bottles, there's pin badges. Would that not be beneficial in an area where you're doing testing?
I think so. I think as long as we've got enough people attending an event, then it becomes worthwhile. So if we're doing a Balmoral show size event or other things like that, absolutely. So I think this is kind of a starter for 10 with us in this conversation. We're going to start producing some other stuff, and it'd be interesting to get people's reaction to it. There's been some efforts at merchandising things before, but I think just because it's tried before and maybe not worked, it doesn't mean that we did it well before, so we kind of need to do it and do it well where we can. But I think people now do want some kind of acknowledgement for their donation that is worthwhile. So we're getting some smaller key ring bearers together. We're looking at some car stickers and a few other things. Maybe mugs kind of was another thing as well. So we'll see with that. I suppose we'd be very careful with every penny, unfortunately. So or maybe fortunately. So we can't. And there's been a lot of money spent previously on some of that stuff that hasn't necessarily worked. But I do think we need to kind of look at it a bit more.
But the Christmas cards sell out every year, don't they? Every year, the Christmas cards sell out like hotcakes. And
They do. My mother ordered some yesterday as well.
And people give donations on top of it. Absolutely. So I think what we're doing is we're going to look at every area critically and say, well, that's working. Let's do more of that. So there's one of the things that it works really well for the charities in memory donations, or in lieu of flowers, or in lieu of birthdays or at anniversaries. They do really well for the charity.
That's what people donated to.
Yeah. So I think that's something we want to make more of, and that's something that we'll continue to kind of revise and look at. So what to do is do what you enjoy: walking, running, watching TV, eating cake. If that's what other people will have very specific hobbies that maybe can come into this. There's doing the fundraiser-led activity, which is what you think of. And yes, go ahead and let us know, would be fantastic. There's our events and activities like the London Landmark Half Marathon, and there'll be other things from time to time where it's not much cost to us or next to no cost to us to promote them. Sorry, our events, which I'll mention, and the partner events like the London Landmarks Half Marathon. And then there's our own appeals. If we have appeals going out, which we're going to start to do more often, is at different times of the year, ask people to support a particular issue or cause as well. So what we're thinking in terms of what we suggest people do as fundraisers, if they want to do an event that we have suggested or themed, is have a great iron brew, and on the first Wednesday in July every year, that we encourage people to have a tea and coffee style morning, where they raise some donations with that, or they can do a little.
Bernadette has said.
Yeah, so next to no cost, kind of a bit of fun to do. We'll put some kind of materials in and around it, as we just started to this year. A lot of people ordered the packs, got some packs. We've seen a little bit come in, not hugely encouraging, but this is the sort of thing you kind of need to build year on year. So there's a recognition for it, and anything we can get any of our fundraisers involved would be fantastic. No ironing Monday, so having a Monday in the year where you just go and you don't bother ironing your clothes, and it's again trying to keep a theme to the cause that means something and has a bit of awareness around it. We could produce a guide for people to have a golf day. Again, it wouldn't be us organizing it, would be asking other people who have connections in their local club who play golf to do that for us. So again, I know it means putting it out on onus and other people, but that's realistically how we would do something. We couldn't really organize a golf day ourselves, because where would it be that everybody could get to? How do we sell all of that? So it needs to be a locally based activity.
I think it's got to be crazy golf, then everybody can get involved.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, but it's the sort of thing where we're consciously saying as staff we'll probably not organize some of these activities because of the time that you're paying staff to do this. By the time you see any return on it, it's not really viable. As a fundraiser, it might not make enough to do that. Be interested to hear your thoughts on some of that. So Dodgy Jeans Friday, it's similar to another charity has done around Jeans for Jeans, I think was the. They had stopped that. They may restart it, but it's nothing to say this is all stolen stuff anyway. People just copy everybody else. Or we suggest people have a maintenance celebration dinner. So those are kind of what we are proposing to put in our guide to fundraising as the things. These are the things we would like our fundraisers to do if they would like to do them, or choose your own event and activity and do that as well, and we'll give you some kind of support for it. Any kind of thoughts on those? Does that?
Just one thing I was thinking, this year we live in quite a decent community. We live on a marina, and there was like a community event where there was music and lots of stalls and lots of stands, and the local beauty salon had a stand and they let people have free treatments. And I was just thinking that something like that could be an opportunity to have a stand and maybe a raffle or something like that, or obviously collection boxes and maybe some little. I'm not a great fan of the blood on the t-shirts or I'm very, very poor with giving blood. It's a major issue for me, which is ironic. But anyway, yeah, I must have been an absolute bastard in a past life. Excuse my French.
Excellent.
Just something like that where you could, and maybe even there's lots of like fairs and stuff around the country all the time for different times of the year. I think particularly the summer, obviously, if weather permitting, but those sort of things could be quite easy.
Is your local fair something that
to
you
get to?
consider
Also, like where we are, there were loads of bars open, so everyone was quite tipsy.
Bernadette, you're telling me about wine and bars.
No. But what I'm saying is, people give more money when they're drinking. Do you know what I mean? It's just common. It's just it is, isn't it? It's, I don't know what it is, but I give you some money.
Well, Bernadette, can I sign you up for the next one next year in your local
Yeah, I'm happy. I will happily do that. Actually, get involved because my husband was partly involved in organising it last year. This year,
Oh,
God,
there
I've
we
lost
go.
track.
We can send you like loads of leaflets and loads of bits and bobs, and you can get
Yeah, but
everyone
I would
drunk and
happily,
take their money.
have some sort of stand or something and do
Yeah.
that. I would.
That's
Yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
that's, I mean, that's fantastic that you can do that. I think you can combine awareness and fundraising sometimes as well.
Mm.
I think for me, if it's a fundraising event, make sure it makes some money for us. If it's an awareness event, that's fine. That's great. We're
No, the thing is, no, I would make the idea was people would be donating.
Yeah.
And maybe
Well,
if there's some little things they could pay for, I don't know, key rings or something, I don't know, but anything really. But if not, just get them to donate as well.
yeah, we're hoping
That'd be the main
to
theme.
have some of those things. Absolutely. And there's scratch cards that we have that you can have at those sorts of activities
Okay.
as well.
I
So-
think that's amazing, Bernadette. Like that, like literally, that's exactly what we need people doing. Like you say, going to all these little local events. Like, so we go to like the big ones, and we go to like everything else, but we can't be at all the local events in all of the little areas. So if you guys in your local area can go to, you know, your summer fair or your winter fair or whatever it is, that like makes such a huge difference, and that's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. That'd be wicked.
Definitely really good. And so it's fundraiser led is do your own thing. And I think we'll maybe not prescribe that. We'll say, do the thing that you enjoy doing. And with sponsor pages, you can set them up on our site and you can raise your money that way. And it's a really useful thing to do for us, as well as encouraging people to, at anniversaries and in memory of people, or in lieu of birthday presents or Christmas presents, if they want to choose the charity. So we'll be making a bit more of that, hopefully going forward then as well. Just to kind of, because we're at the end of our time really, but you can set up, I don't know if anybody has done this yet, you can set up a fundraising page on our website. There's a lot our website can do, and it's really useful, you know, so I would encourage you to have a look at it and see how that works out as well. And we have a lot of people doing it over this last few years. We could obviously do with more going on all the time, but these are really significant money to us. I think, you know, £500 raised by community fundraisers is worth more than a grant that's directed definitely to something, you know, that we have to spend it on, because this gives us greater flexibility to go where the need is with it. And it's really helpful that we have this kind of, we want to build a small army of people who are raising some money for us. So the fundraising pages are a really useful way to do it. And it's also great to see people's stories. And really, we're such a community that's spread across the UK as well. You get a sense of that whenever you see some of the fundraising pages on the website. So we have some materials, as we've mentioned, that we can give you. We're working on this little leaflet for awareness. You know, it's great you have come today. We'd like to get more people involved. Our guide to fundraising will do some little updating on that. It's still relatively useful, so that's downloadable from the website. With these kind of fold-out card collection boxes, and with sponsor forms as well. The way we encourage people, if they're fundraising, is they do their fundraiser and then they pay it in through the website. So you can just take the amount that's been raised. It's useful if you can kind of give us a narrative of what it's for. Sometimes it's useful if you can give a breakdown of the collection as well. We may be able to gift aid some of those small donations, and you can pay it in through the website that way. If it's entirely necessary, you could send us a check. It's less and less easy to manage checks, and it's actually, a lot of people now are very comfortable with donating online. But every now and again, you will have people who will want to give you a check, and if it's made out to Haemochromatosis UK, and you let us know about it.
Oh no. Can you have some socks?
Yeah, so that's how that's done. And I wonder, is there anything that you were hoping to hear from us tonight that we haven't
Just
covered?
one very quick sort of legal question. So if we raise, obviously probably cash, do we then have to pay it into our account to pay it to you? Is that how it works?
Yes, if it's cash, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Because it would be cash, wouldn't it, if you're going out to the
Yes.
collection box type thing?
It would be, and yeah, so
And is that legal? Because
it is, yeah.
Okay.
It's just, if you make a note of how much you've raised, and you have to pay it to us somehow electronically, so it needs to go into an
sure,
account.
yeah,
first.
yeah.
And it's useful if you put it into your account in one lump and then send it straight to us.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
that
Okay.
would be fantastic.
Can I ask then, is there not a sort code and account number that we could pay it into directly for Haemochromatosis UK?
You could, but actually we probably prefer it through the website.
For tracking purposes, yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think if you would, if it's, you know, if you really would rather do that, I'm of the opinion we'll get it from you whatever way we can. You know, that's what suits you. But I know that in the office they'd be a bit more strict on. We'd really like it this way. They'd really not prefer checks, you know. But actually, sometimes I think you have to make allowances. And what does the donor want to do? You know, if the donor wants to give us a check, I say take the check. You know, rather
Sure.
than lose that.
Okay. I think Izzy, your cat is desperately vying for attention.
Sorry, I've just been like batting him off like constantly.
He's been behind the curtains and all. He's just so cute. He's so sweet. He's put his paws up on you. So say, okay, we're done.
Anybody else got anything else they'd like to ask of us? The thing is, we're available. You know, do please get in touch with us if you have any questions or queries you'd like some more.
Just one thing, how would I find out who's in my area that might be involved?
I think if you ask Izzy, maybe
Okay.
we can would that be right, Izzy? Can you?
Yeah, no, that's
help
fine.
with that?
I can like email you all tomorrow just as a follow-up of any
Lovely.
questions and anything else, and you know, send you over the sort of fundraising things that we have, and yeah, we can kind of
If
discuss what you want to do.
If you're not on Facebook, Bernadette, we could maybe do a shout out, you know, ourselves through the Facebook page, see if anybody else is in the area, and we could pass
Sure.
on.
Yeah. That'd be great, because if there were people locally that were doing stuff, we could maybe collaborate a bit, you know.
Correct. I think that's what makes it happen. Really, we have a group. I think it's in the Northwest that are maybe trying to do something like that.
Yeah.
Would be excellent.
Okay.
So this is just all. So this is all the charity staff, and actually, it's grown quite a bit this last while. Not everybody's full time, obviously, but here's our different roles, and we're really trying to work very hard for the cause. You know, a lot of us have hemochromatosis, as he says, it's not entirely necessary to have it to work for the charity. Just as it isn't necessary to be called Neil or Elizabeth to work for the charity.
I did notice that actually.
So I mean, if nobody's got any other issues or questions, that's probably us for tonight.
Will you email out the PowerPoint?
We will.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Great.
I can do that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I just want to say yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Nice to see some old, well, not see some old faces, but nice to see some like people that I know and people that we don't know. And yeah, thank you so much for coming along this evening. I think it's been productive, and obviously possibly this evening you may have sort of more thoughts, and you know, you may go to bed thinking about it, you never know. So yeah, if you want to sort of email me or Neil or anything, and with any more ideas, that'd be amazing. So
See, I've got time. I can give my time. I can't give my physicality, but I can give my time. I can be somewhere with a collection pot. Just tell me where.
Oh, Sarah, don't say that to me. I'll send you all over the country. You know that.
I can fund myself. I can get there. Just tell me where to go. I'm just not very good with ideas of, you know, coming up with ways to sort of raise money in a.
Oh no, we're just going to put the kids out, aren't we? Like, you know. Yeah.
So thanks very much. Hopefully
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll get more people kind of interested in this as well, so it becomes easier as the more people get involved too. But we really appreciate your time tonight. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Lovely to meet you all.
Nice to meet
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.